Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Listen Up. This is your host, Andrew Denson. Today is August 30th. Thank you for tuning in. Later on the show, around 7:30, we'll be joined by our guest speaker, the Final Fantasy Fanatic, one of the underrated people of YouTube. But I'll be plugging his page as the show goes along. Today's topic is I lost my train of thought. I just got back from playing football, so my head's a little out there. But today's topic is video games. So, of course, nerds are going to be listening in today. From there. And then number one, as I mentioned earlier, is Final Fantasy X. The best game of all time, even though most Final Fantasy nerds don't even say that that's the best game. They think that 7 is the best, and I just, spit in their face and then walk away. Yes, they are. They're him and Cloud. They're obsessed with them. But Final Fantasy X, funny story. Okay, this was the first PS2 game I got. I think it was in 2001. Now I understood the game pretty well. I just didn't understand the sphere grid. I didn't understand the sphere grid. I don't think any of the other Final Fantasy games have the sphere grid. That's the one thing that pissed me off about Final Fantasy X is that to level up you have to use the stupid sphere grid. What's the point of that? What's the point of that, Rob?
The point of that is basically so you can get other characters' attributes and skill unlock certain parts of the grid, and you can basically make one character strong with all your characters.
That's stupid. Why don't you just do like in Kingdom Hearts? Sora and Donald both learn the same things without the stupid sphere grid. So I mean,
if you're not, if you have an IQ above 90, the sphere grid is pretty easy to figure out.
No,
with an instruction book for the game.
No.
Tells you exactly how to use it.
You're talking about the strategy guide?
No, I'm talking about the little booklet that came with the game.
What booklet? But yeah, I was awful for the longest time. Then last year or maybe 2 years ago, I really started killing it. Rob actually came over to my house one time to fight the final. He hasn't beat the game. He came over to my house to beat the final boss. Not the final boss, the second final boss, which was what's his name? Gecko. Rob sat over my house for about 3 hours trying to fight Gecko one time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he might actually do it. And then he lost, and he had a hissy fit in my room. He was like, ah! He started breaking things. He I don't know. He tried to put his penis in my mouth. I mean, what?
No, don't go that far. That's gay.
Really? You did it though. I'm.
You remember you might be
A little bit of what? I don't do cocaine in public. But anyway, while we're like I said before, we're having a guest caller, the Final Fantasy Fanatic from YouTube, calling around 7:30. Now the reason I wanted to interview this guy is because one day during my no life summer, I was cruising around YouTube like I do every day, and I stumbled upon these top 10 lists that people do with Final Fantasy stuff. Then I saw one that said top 700 songs from Final Fantasy. So the first thing that popped in my mind is, okay, this can't be true or whatever. No one really put that much time into doing that. Then over the next 3 hours, I watched all the videos, and I was, of course, if you know me, my favorite song from any video game is the Beset Island song from Final Fantasy X. So as I'm watching these videos, I'm rooting for Beset to be number one. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're almost close. We get to 500. Okay, we're still in there. We get to 400. They still haven't shown it. I think it's at 317, and it says Beset Island, and my life ended right there. I started crying a little bit inside. I left a comment. I was like, I love your list, but you kind of left Beset Island a little low. But his top 10 are really good. He had the Sephiroth theme, One Wing Angel theme on there twice. I can't remember what number one was, but it was really good too. So then I started watching his other videos, and he does reviews of the Final Fantasy games. I've seen his reviews on Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy 2, which were both awful games, and we can both agree on that. Did you play Final Fantasy 1 and 2? Which one was better, even though they both sucked?
They were equal suckage. in my book. But I guess
You can hear he's a douche because he used the word suckage, but anyway.
I think it's a little bit better. Because I just remember walking out of town and just there was like a shit ton of monsters and I had 2 guys and I just couldn't win, so I just quit. I mean,
You quit? You didn't even be...
No, fuck it. I was like, this is dumb.
This is dumb. There is no point to those games. Like, I'm reading the story on Wikipedia of what the story was supposed to be about, and then I'm finished reading it, and I'm like, what? I didn't get any of that from playing those games. Like, all I remember is, like, leveling up the entire game. Like, you can't do anything. They're awful games. The Final Fantasy series doesn't get good until around Final Fantasy 4. Tactics was good. I didn't play Tactics.
PlayStation was pretty good.
I didn't play that one. And, of course, all 3 of us, Fanatic included, we can all agree that the worst Final Fantasy game of all time is Final Fantasy X-2. Final Fantasy X-2 is the worst. It's worse. Like, I'm sorry that I have to say this, but it's pretty much worse than 9/11. And that's saying something. Like, it's worse than 9/11. Actually, no, I can't say that because that's mean. It's worse than 9/11 and the Holocaust combined. All right. Yeah, that's better. Final Fantasy X-2. I didn't even play the game. I watched the preview for the game, and that, like, I can usually watch a preview of a game, and if it looks like it's gonna suck, I'll still play it just because, see if it's good. Final Fantasy X-2. The preview was just that awful that I refused to play that game. Like, oh my gosh! And then I listened to everyone's reviews of it, and it's just. They all have the same. No one. I've never met anyone that liked Final Fantasy X-2. Actually, Rob. Okay, I think we have a caller on the line. I think it's our guest. So, like I said before, if you wanted to ask questions, call on the number, and here we go.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, this is your guest.
Oh, this is the guest. Well, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Hot.
All right, that's straight. Straight. All right, so I'm going to get right into it. We also have someone here with us, and later on the show, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind naming like your top 10 favorite games of all time? Would that be a problem?
Come on, you guys know me. I have more than a top 10.
Well, yeah. It depends what kind of games you are. I took this quiz once, and to see what kind of gamer I am, and I would call myself. The quiz said I was a Pac-Man guy, which means I find one game I like, and then I stick with it, you know? So the 10 games, my favorite games are like very old games, probably no one's ever heard of them. So the first one would be a game called Comic Zone. It's a very old game. Yeah, very old game that very few people have played. And it was on my computer, so I played it like a million times. Then another one would be an old adventure game called Titanic Adventure Out of Time. Then we have pretty much a lot of the Final Fantasy games. It would be probably
not 10-2.
Yeah, not 10-2, no. But 7, 6, 8, 10, and I would say Tactics if I have to choose 5.
5, all right.
I love Shadow of the Colossus, and any of the old Crash Bandicoot games. So I guess that's 10.
Oh wow, you're going way back with that one.
Yeah.
First thing that came to my mind, of course, was did someone really put that much time into doing this? I thought it was like one of those spam videos. And then I sat there for about 3 hours watching all the videos, and I'm like, wow, this is actually a pretty good list. I actually respect the guy for taking that much time to go out and do all of this. So what made you want to do this list?
Well, ever since I finished Final Fantasy X when it came out, I had played pretty much all the Final Fantasy games up to then. And I said to myself, you know what? I have to do some kind of project. Something, like maybe make a movie, maybe film it all and like commentary, maybe even write a strategy guide. And I really didn't know what to do until last year. And I said maybe I can do this like this YouTube video about all the Final Fantasy games. And I kind of realized it was too much to do in one video. So I thought to myself, what was like the best way to talk about all the games in one way? And I thought I feel like the best part of the Final Fantasy games is the music. I mean,
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So I said, hey, if I list all the music, if I make some sort of list, then I can express what I love about the game through the music. And I said, okay, maybe I'll make a top 10 list. And I said, no, there's more than 10. And I said, maybe 50. And I said, there's way more than 50. And then maybe 100. And then I realized I have to make a top 1,000 list. And then I tried to make a list, and it only got up to 700. So I said, what the hell? I'll make 700.
All right, and you added most of the games on there. Of course, you said that you didn't add games like was it Crystal Chronicles?
Yeah, Crystal Bearers didn't come out yet. Final Fantasy 13, the soundtrack didn't come out, so I didn't hear it yet. And Final Fantasy Adventure.
Did you play Final Fantasy 13?